Good morning again. Before I get into my talk, today is the 15th anniversary of the attacks of September 11th, and I wanted to take just a moment to acknowledge that, and for us to, as a community, hold the over 3,000 people who passed, and the families who have continued on with that process in our hearts and in our love. And I have a short video we're going to show afterwards, but I just want to take a moment. If you'll join me by just simply moving into your heart. Feel comfortable, close your eyes. And recognize that our hearts are connected to each other. We form a bond. That we form and can form a unit of love, a community of love. As we allow our hearts to open, to allow that love through us, we take that love and share it, send it to the families that have left behind, the families of the loved ones and the loved ones of those who lost their lives that day. Whether they were firefighters or police or residents of the towers, occupants of the towers, people in the Pentagon, people on the flight that crashed in Pennsylvania. Just simply holding in light and love. And those who are simply traumatized by that experience, as almost all of us were, we recognize that that love is more powerful than the fear, than the hurt. We allow ourselves to share. We allow ourselves to remember that day when we came together as a world community grieving this loss. We stopped being Republicans or Democrats or black or white or Hispanic or any of that stuff. We were just people. Allow that love in your heart to grow and to envelop all the families, all the survivors, all those touched by this experience, touched by this incident. We'll just take a moment to breathe in and breathe out that love. So taking in one deep breath, allowing your love to be released from your heart and shared with those people. To surround all that happened that day and all that continues from that day. Be blessed with love, and so it is. Ascendo. Come on. There we go. I love that video. This tree was reduced to a stump, basically. Everything, all the branches broken off. And people who had faith in it, people who cared about it, people who loved it, nourished it back to health. And out of that stump, out of that broken branches, grew new branches, new life. And so it continues on today. And we're going to be talking today about faith. And when we have faith, it can take even the stumps in our lives. And many of us have or have had stumps in our lives, and allow them to grow, to continue to grow and to continue to bless. So I love that video for that reminder, that message. So today's official topic is faith without works is dead. I like to think of it as faith with works is alive. I'm going to do the positive side of that if that's okay. Faith with works is alive. And this comes out of our vision from the Global Heart vision for our community and this idea of creating a world that works for all. We see our communities as being meaningfully involved with service to the world. We see our communities as being meaningfully involved with service to the world. So this idea of faith without works is dead, which comes from Paul, one of Paul's letters, is a familiar phrase. It's oftentimes used, and I've heard it sometimes used almost like a hammer, to encourage people to do something, to go out and do something. And so I want to break it down and look at it in a slightly different way, though, and to deconstruct that phrase and look at where it is. So let's start, first of all, with the idea of faith. Faith itself. See, faith without works is dead. I have to have the faith first, right? I have to have the faith. I have to be coming from faith. And often we don't do works because we don't have faith that the works will do anything. Okay? We don't have faith that the works will work. And so then we don't start. So the first step in this process then is to direct our faith in the direction we want to go. And so what is faith? Ernest Holmes has a definition for faith in the glossary for the Science of Mind textbook. He said, and he starts off with a quote from also from Paul, "Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen." Faith can't be seen, right? Can't be seen. It's an invisible force. Gravity is an invisible force, right? We can't see it, but it does work. I have faith that it works. I have faith that if Sue stumbles a little bit, I saw this thing reach out and grab, by the way. It moved. It wasn't you. But, or if I go jump off of the top of the roof here, gravity's going to work. I may not like the effect of it, but it's going to work. So faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. That faith is a mental attitude so inwardly embodied that the mind can no longer deny it. Faith is complete when it is both a conscious and subjective acceptance. Faith may be consciously generated. In spiritual terminology, faith means a belief in the presence of an invisible principle and law which directly and specifically responds to us. And he quotes from Jesus, "Thy faith has made thee whole." Our faith makes us whole. Our faith makes things whole. I want to break down that reading just a little bit. So faith is a mental attitude so inwardly embodied that the mind can no longer deny it. Okay? Faith is an inward attitude. It's the evidence of things not seen, but it starts within each of us. We have to have that faith. We have to build that faith. And he says we can consciously build it. Faith is complete when it is both a conscious, that is, I know it consciously, and a subjective. I know it deep down in my bones. I truly get it. See, I don't know about you, but sometimes I've had faith consciously, but not subjectively. And guess what? Not a whole lot happens. I wish it would happen. I try and push it and make it happen, but it doesn't happen because I don't really, really believe in it. And when I don't really, really believe in it, then the works don't happen and the faith is dead. So it has to be embodied both consciously and subconsciously or subjectively. Faith can be consciously generated. In spiritual terminology, faith means a belief in the presence of an invisible presence and law which directly and specifically responds to us. So as we put it out in that both conscious and subjective mode, one of the things we say a quote we have in our teaching is that a thought plus a feeling equals a result. So it's both the conscious, the thought mode, and the subjective, the feeling mode, equals a result. When I'm in that, my faith is so powerful that it can start to make things happen. What do we mean by consciously generated? I'm going to slightly disagree with Ernest. Heresy, I know. Don't tell. Shh, don't tell. I want to say that we already have all the faith we're ever going to have. We have 100% of all the faith we're ever going to have. The question is, what do we have faith in? Where do we aim it? I think of faith as kind of like, if you're aiming a bow and arrow at a target, where am I aiming it? Because if I'm aiming it, I find for myself sometimes when I get into it, 25% of my faith is aimed in the direction I want to go, and 75% is aimed and I don't believe it's going to happen. Okay? And so I'm not 100% clear in where I want to go. And guess what that produces? Not a 100% result, right? Where is our faith aimed? What do we truly, truly have faith in? See, if I have faith in the love of God, I'm going to act that way. If I have faith in people are going to reject me if I act that way, then guess what? I'm not going to act that way because it's too dangerous. Where do I have faith? Where is my faith aimed? Where is my faith directed? Emma Curtis Hopkins invites us to have both faith in God, which is faith in that invisible principle, not a God as a big guy in the sky, but faith in that invisible principle that responds directly to us. And she says, have the faith of God. And my favorite example of that I oftentimes use is in Genesis. God says, let there be light. He doesn't say, I hope there's some light. Wish there would be a little light. Maybe it'll happen if I just stand on this foot and say the right incantation might happen. No, he says, let there be light, and there is. And what Genesis is to me, the first chapter of Genesis, is actually the creative process that happens in the mind. This is how we generate. We say, let there be, and if we're totally in alignment with that, if we have that 100% faith, if we're totally with what we believe, that's where mountains can move. That's where mountains can move. So do I have that? We have faith in God, and we have the faith of God. We recognize that we are creative agents of the divine. You and I, when we speak our word, when we image our images, when we think our thoughts, are recreating the creative process of the divine and moving it into form. So where am I directing it? Where am I directing it? Oftentimes we're in fear of what we don't want, and so we're trying to push that away, and that is not effective. We need to be in the direction of where I do want. Where do I want to go? What do I want to create? We have a process in this particular teaching called the 5-step prayer method, which is actually just simply a way to generate faith, to align ourselves with faith. We teach it in that Power of the Word class that I'm going to be doing this week. We touch on it in both the Quick Start class and the Foundations class. We call it spiritual mind treatment. I like Charlie having a spiritual mind reading today. We bring the mind, the spiritual mind, into alignment. So we treat our mind in a spiritual way. We align it in a spiritual way. We align it with spirit. So before ever beginning a prayer, I heard, and I know this is not a completely true story, but I love it anyways. You ever hear one of those, legendary or stories that afterwards you find out it really wasn't true, but it is true on a certain level, and you love it? So what I heard was that Hawaiians labeled the white people Howleys, right? And what Haole means is without breath. And they labeled it that way because of the missionaries who came over would just jump into their prayers and say their prayers by rote. Where the Hawaiians, who were deep into their spiritual process, would take time to prepare before they even started a prayer. They would get centered, they would get aligned, they would do their breathing process, they would do all this stuff before they even stepped into the prayer process. Which is a whole lot different than our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done there. I remember when I grew up Catholic, you could be given penance, say 5 Our Fathers and 25 Hail Marys, and you're just running through them rote. Anybody besides me? Yeah. No feeling, no passion. Now, the Our Father is a beautiful prayer, by the way, if we say it with meaning and with feeling and with consciousness. Okay? So before we ever begin the prayer, we breathe and we get centered. Breathe and get centered. And then we step back from the situation, whatever situation we're in, and choose what is our highest outcome. What do we really want in this situation? What does our heart, what does our spirit, what does our soul really want in this situation? We ask for a vision, we ask for an idea, we ask for clarity. As a friend of mine said, if we'd spend more time in this step, if we would spend more time getting the vision of what we truly want and really going for the essence of what we truly want, we would spend less time praying out of our lives what we had just prayed into our lives. Because we would be aware of the essence of what we want. So we get the clear purpose, the essence of really what do I want to create in this situation. What is it? And that what I want to create in this situation always has to be for the highest and best for all. Because guess what? Everybody, all of us are one. And so this person or this thing may be irritating you over here, but this person is also one with God, right? Yes? Okay? This person is also one with God, even if they irritate the heck out of you. So what do you want? You want to have a loving relationship with this person, a harmonious relationship with this person, whatever that looks like. And the thing is that sometimes we don't know what that looks like. I can't imagine having a harmonious relationship with this person over here. But Spirit can, and my spiritual self can. Can I tap into that? Can I start to say, you know what, but I have faith that even though I have no idea how to do it myself, I know that there is something within me that is greater than my own individual egoic-based mind that does know how to do this. That can see farther, that can see bigger. Okay? And so we start to get what is the highest and best, what is that I want? And then we start the process by turning away from whatever the circumstance is and turning to the infinite presence. See, oftentimes when I get locked up in a problem, when I get locked up in a situation, I get locked up in it. I get blinders on. I got to figure out a way to solve this and resolve it and stuff like that. Instead of stepping back and saying, wait a minute, God is. What's the truth of God? God is bigger than this. God is bigger than this. So I turn away from the circumstance and I put my attention on God. I can't control the outer circumstances, but I can control and direct my attention. I can control and direct what I put my attention on. And so I choose to put my attention on the infinite presence. And I focus on the highest truth of God that relates to the situation. If I'm in an issue with money, I focus on the abundance and prosperity of God. If I'm in an issue with harmony or love, I focus on the harmony and the love and the oneness of God. If I'm in a situation with health and wholeness, I focus on the life energy, the vitality, the vibrational aliveness that is God. That is spirit, that is the infinite one. It doesn't matter what you call it, but that essence, that energy. I think about this, and I continue to think about this until it truly sinks in, until I truly get it in my gut. That's the subjective part of it. See, we can do treatment, 5-step treatment, the same way we do the Our Father. We just simply pop off a treatment. Sounds good. But does it really get subjectively in? Do I take the time? And so I like to sit with every single step of the 5 steps until I truly feel it, until it truly is a part of me and I'm immersed in it. And I absolutely, at the gut level, get that it's true. After I remember that God is all there is, I remember then that I'm one with that. Because if the only thing happening in the universe is this infinite presence, guess what? I'm not outside of it, right? I'm in it. I'm one of it. And so I speak about that. And if I am one of it, then I am one with its health, wholeness, and vibrational aliveness. I am one with its love and harmony. I am one with its abundance and prosperity. I am one with its creativity, its wisdom, whatever it is that I'm wanting in this situation. I am already one of that, and I start to remember that truth. Because usually when I'm stuck, I'm forgetting that truth. And so I start to remember what is the real truth about this. I am one with this essence. It and I are one. Can't escape it. Emerson says we are inlets to the divine. We're automatically inlets. We may become outlets. We are inlets to the divine. So again, until I get that, until I feel it in my gut, until it sinks in. And then I move into what's called the third step of this, which is I begin to speak the truth of what I'm calling into form as if it were already so. And so if I want that harmonious relationship, I start speaking the truth that I am now in a harmonious relationship with this person over here. Now my mind is going to sit there and go, yeah, how do you know that? What? And so I keep speaking that truth because first of all, I have aligned with Spirit, and secondly, remember that I'm one with Spirit, okay? And now from that, I can speak my truth that I may have no idea even on my conscious level, but I'm willing to know that there is something within me and something within that person that resonates with that, and we both want a harmonious relationship, even if neither one of us is aware of it, or one of us is not aware of it. That's what we truly want. We truly want love from each other, right? We truly want harmony with each other. We truly want health. We truly want to live in this world and have joy and have fun. So a friend of mine says, this is a party planet. Sign me up. That's how we can be living life. I think Jesus said something to the effect of, we're all living asleep and most of us are having a nightmare. Okay? There's more available than that. So we begin to speak this truth, calling this into form so clearly that I can see it, I can touch it, I can feel it, I can taste it, I can experience it. If I have any doubts that come up, I speak to those doubts and I simply say, you're not the truth. The truth is that God is, and I am, this abundant good. This is the truth. And I keep going at that until I am absolutely certain. It's been used and expressed as a lawyer building a case, building an argument in the direction that they want to go. And I do that until I have no doubt in that. I do that until I'm firmly immersed in the truth of that. When I know that this is the truth, I find for myself that I automatically start to feel grateful about it. I start to feel grateful, and that's the next step that we move into, is gratitude for the thing as already so. And it's not being grateful to somebody or something. There's no big guy in the sky that we're grateful for, we're grateful for the thing being already so that we have spoken. Oftentimes we do gratitude after the fact, right? I'm grateful because you were nice to me. How about if I'm grateful for you before you're nice to me? Okay? How about if I'm grateful for the beautiful day that I'm just waking up to, instead of waiting till the end of the day to decide if I want to be grateful or not? Okay? I set my tone. And so with this, I set my tone. I am grateful. I'm grateful for the thing as though it is already accomplished. And then from that point, I simply release it into what we call the action of law. Law, when we say law, we simply mean the creative process, the law of nature, the same law that moves a seed into a fully formed plant or tree, flower, whatever it is. That same law that creates, it moves thought into form. It moves idea from idea and into form. And we release it into that. Once I'm through with that, there's two things. Release is, many people find the toughest step because they want to dig the plant up and see how it's doing after they planted the seed. Okay? And so when we talk about acting, because there's another phrase that says treat, this treatment, and move your feet. And so people say, but wait, I thought I was supposed to release it and not do anything about it. No. You treat and then you act from the guidance that you receive from within. Most of the time when we're acting in the other way, we're acting out of fear. We're acting out of, I don't really believe this is going to happen, so I'm going to help the spirit, I'm going to help the universe along. Make it happen, okay? Instead, if I'm listening after I do the treatment, after I sit there, something may come to me that says, what is my next step to do as I walk into and step into this belief that this is already happening? What is mine to do? There's a wonderful story that a man in a jail cell is in a jail cell. The door is unlocked. Guess what? He still needs to get up and walk out the door to have his freedom, right? We still need to get up and walk out the door if we want our freedom. If we plant a seed, we still have to water it and fertilize it and nourish it. If you like to, speak nicely to it. Okay? So we do what is ours to do. We act from that awareness. And then what I find is when I'm in that level, it's almost like the action comes through me. It moves me. I've had the feeling of I'm not walking a trail, the trail is walking me. The path is walking me. It's like one of those moving floors at the airport. You step on it and it's moving you along in the direction you want to go. And so I have that feeling, but I have to still step on the path, right? And I still have to be willing to go. If I stand there at the edge of it and look at that moving floor and go, that looks scary, and some of those steps we sometimes hear may at first look scary or feel scary, am I willing to step on and go? Am I willing to step on and go? So faith without works is dead, but faith with the works is alive. So this week I'm going to invite us to do three things. Number one, identify a place you feel called. Where are you feeling that call to be more in your life? Okay? Where am I called to create a world that works for all in a bigger way? Where am I called to be of service to the world? To get outside of myself and to be of service to the world? Notice any doubts or fears that I might have about that. And just be aware of that. And then secondly, begin to build my faith in the direction that I want to create. Begin to build it. Use this process. Use a process to say, you know what, I'm going to consciously aim and direct my faith where I want it to go. I'm going to get it all in alignment with here. An incandescent light bulb diffuses all over the place, right? But a laser that focuses everything in a line cuts through stuff. Can I get my faith like a laser? When Jesus talks about the mustard seed, as a grain of mustard seed, it's both small, but have you ever seen a mustard seed? It's hard, right? It's really hard. Okay? And so can we have that faith that is so strong and so intense and that we can use that? Be with this process of creating your faith until you truly feel it. And finally, allow the energy of your faith to move you. Maria Nemeth, who teaches the energy of money, talks about the trouble at the border, is how she phrases it. And we have a border between where we metaphysicalize everything and then where we cross over into actually taking form and taking action into something. And that's the place where, as she says, a lot of metaphysicians metaphysal is because they don't take that one more step and bring it into form. So that's the third step I invite you to do this week, to play with, is when you feel called, when you've built your faith, allow yourself to move into action. Allow yourself to move it into form instead of just sitting there with it. Ask, what is mine to do? Ask, what must I become in order to do this? And move in that direction. So would you be willing to play with me this week in that practice? We're identifying a place where I feel called, I'm beginning to build my faith, and I'm beginning to allow my energy to move me in the direction of that faith. Would you be willing to play with that this week? Yes. Me too. I got a couple big things up that I'm playing with right now. So this talk is as much for me as it is for anybody in here. I will close with a quote also from Christian Larson from The Pathway of Roses. He says, "To live in this faith is to live in perfect peace. We are never disturbed about any threatening circumstance. We are never fearful or afraid anymore. We know that the door will open when the time comes. We shall surely have what we need, enough to supply the greatest possible need. Having done our part, we know that God will not fail in his. All things are yours now, and all the now that now is eternal. All that is now is eternal." The gift is already given is another way of saying that. That which we desire is already present now. Can I step into it fully? Can I allow it to be? So let's move into prayer. And so I take a moment to know, to remember that truth, that there is this infinite one. Pure love, pure creativity, pure wisdom, power, life energy, abundant, opulent good. This energy, this presence is it. It's the only game in the universe. Big town. It's the only game in town. This infinite presence is all there is, everywhere present, and I am one with it. I am one with it. I am it expressing as me. It has taken the time, it has taken the intelligence, it has taken the energy, it has taken all to be me. And I breathe that in for a moment. I allow myself to be aware of that. I am an individualized expression of the infinite presence right here on this planet at this time. And from this awareness, I speak my word that each of us recognizes this truth, embodies this truth, allows ourselves to be directed in the direction, in the unique ways and processes of our own truth. In the unique ways that this infinite presence wants to express through us, we simply say yes. And we allow ourselves with our bodies to say yes, to move it into form, to move it into action. And then in gratitude, because that action, as we allow that spirit to move through us, that action creates greater good for us and for all around us. And so in gratitude for the blessing and the good that is created for that, I release this word into that law, that process that moves it from just an idea into form and experience for us right here, right now. Knowing that it does its part. And as we say yes to it, we open to it. We open the crack in the door. We allow it in to whatever degree we can. And that's all it needs. It just opens up and moves this life energy through us and manifests beautifully in our lives as that which is ours to do. And so it does. And so it is.